Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning in the Valley. It is Wednesday, October the 29th. Glad you are with us today. T-minus 5 days until we get rolling here for the start of the 2025-26 season. Cannot wait for that. All right, busy show today. We're going to continue our preseason previews. We're going to look at the UIC women, year 4 of the Ashleen Bracey era in Chicago. They had an exhibition game last night. We'll get into all that coming up. We'll also talk with Paul Oren from thevictorybell.com. Valpo had a exhibition game, the men, last evening, which we'll get to in just a moment. That is less of the concern about why Paul is on. But Mr. Oren has opted for taking it upon himself that he has circled the media wagons, and we've got a full 1 through 11 Missouri Valley Conference preseason poll. We have preseason teams, first and second. He reached out to nearly 24 media members, represented equally, and to try to get a nice cross section of the league and thoughts and all that. And since we only got a watch list on the men's side, no preseason team, we only got the top 5 teams on the men's team. It's like, let's we were part of the voting group, I guess, for the conference stuff. It's media, it's coaches, it's sports information directors. This is just media, and Lord knows we're all dopes. But with that said, we're going to have that for you. He's going to come on about 9:30, and we will talk about all of that. If you haven't done this already, please head to YouTube, subscribe to the program. 4 much are there for you audio-only folks. You can now listen to the program every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Spotify and Apple Podcast. It is available there. And then last night, threw out a little minor teaser, I guess, of sorts for next week, starting next week. And really, once we get into the regular season, we talked about it throughout the summer, that this will not just be a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday program. Once we get to the season, it will be really the only potential hurdle and roadblock to being live every morning is my travel schedule, doing radio for Murray State. But if there are games, we will try to be here every day to talk about them. And certainly in the non-conference, feels like there's games all the time. And we're also starting another program, because why not? We're going to have Morning in the Valley. I probably didn't think this one through on the front end, calling it Morning in the Valley, since there was a chance we might not always be here for you in the morning. But we will have Morning in the Valley overtime, where we will come on at night and we'll talk about games that have just finished, talk with the folks that have been involved with those, and try to continue to branch out and give you more and more Missouri Valley basketball conference coverage as we roll through the season. So hopefully you'll be able to continue to support that. And again, go to YouTube, subscribe for free, Morning in the Valley, hit the little notification bell. It will pop up and let you know every time we go live, no matter when it may be. And that way you won't miss any of especially our overtime programs at night. So thank you for the continued support. Okay, let's get into some news and notes of the morning. Exhibition week. It's the final exhibition week with the season starting on Monday. And Valparaiso playing. They'd already had one secret scrimmage. They played their one public exhibition last night, 104-60, Borough, Kentucky. It went just as you would hope if you were a Beacons fan. Story of the night, freshman J.T. Pettigrew, 22 points, 8 rebounds, did that in just 17 minutes. I mean, these rebounding numbers, and you see these when you play these exhibitions with Division I against lower tier teams. Valpo plus 44 on the glass, which is a rebounding margin you take and run for the hills. 71-27. 31-0 were the second chance points, the advantage for the Beacons. If there was a it was, and that is lowercase for sure. One game, can't worry about any of it, but 9 of 36 from 3-point range. Mr. Pettigrew, Justice McNair, the lone returner, scholarship returner from a season ago, along with Isaiah Barnes. Those 3 were 7 for 13. The rest of the team, 2 for 26. So that's an easily solved problem. Either A, it's a rough night and those guys will shoot better in the future, or B, you got guys taking shots in an exhibition game they won't take when it matters. So that'll just be something to monitor as the season rolls along. Speaking of Justice McNair, again, the lone scholarship returner for the Beacons, 21 points last night. So thanks to Paul Oren for being boots on the ground. This was not a box scores were not available for this one, and but he was able to scribble some notes so we have at least some idea of what happened. But again, it's an NAIA opponent. It's going to happen. But it happened the way you want it to. You don't want to get into a fist fight with one of these teams and then maybe doubting yourself a little bit. So good final dress rehearsal there for the Beacons. Tuesday night, Belmont played their final exhibition game, and it was a win at home over Tennessee Tech, 74-70. This is one that we had no boots on the ground outside of some social media posts from Belmont. They locked up their and really pulled down the box score on the stat broadcast feed. It was gone as soon as the game was over. So Valpo had the same thing where it's password protected. The paranoia, I wish I could be mad at it. I'm almost just, I almost respect it. It's like you see the football coaches that are so crazy about every little thing, but it's like, yeah, basketball coaches have their moments too. But especially for that very first game, trying to protect every bit of competitive advantage that you have, they do their best. So that's why very, very few of these games have been broadcast on ESPN Plus or any other platform. And then even box scores you can't even get a hold of. But Belmont beats Tennessee Tech 74-70. I'm just guessing off basically periodic social media updates. This one felt like it was generally in control, where Belmont was up 28-10 midway through the first half. They went on a 13-0 run in the second half, got back up by 14 with about 9 minutes to go. It was a 5-point game with 1:15 left. Nick McClain had a 3-point play. The Eastern Washington transfer stretch it back out to 8. They end up winning by 4. So not much to take from it other than it happened. And you saw some, most importantly, probably the first 10 minutes, because that's when everybody's playing our best against your best. And Belmont was out to an early 18-point lead. So good on them. Got that out of the way. And we move along to Monday and get ready for the start of the season. Mid-major poll from the folks at collegeinsider.com. They put out their weekly poll, and on the men's side, Belmont is in the top 25. They slide in at number 24 this week. 4 Valley teams are in the mid-major top 25 poll from College Insider. Again, we've seen a growth of these mid-major polls across the college basketball landscape, but this is one that's been around for a while. Illinois State coming in at number 4, Northern Iowa 11, Bradley at 18. You had Drake, Murray State, and Southern Illinois in the others receiving votes category. On the women's side, Murray State, they are the reigning and defending Missouri Valley Conference champions, regular season and tournament. They had their highest ranking ever in this poll. They come in number 8 in the preseason. Illinois State 12, Belmont 14. Belmont was the pick in the preseason from the Missouri Valley voters to win the league this year. So this poll is the perfect example of when it's good, you beat your chest and tout it, and when it's bad, it's oftentimes like it's concerning about why it's bad, not why you're concerned. The voting is so screwed up in this at times. I mean, last year, and just when I was following mostly Murray State and their rise or lack of rise as they won through, is like you would see teams go 0 for 2 in the week, and then they would end up moving up 4 spots in the poll. Like there's no rhyme or reason for a lot of where teams end up. But I think the most significant part on the women's side, South Dakota State is the number 1 team. Murray State has a matchup with them in 2 weeks. There's another Valley team that will play them that's off the top of my head right now. Can't remember. But South Dakota State, the best mid-major team in the country, and they will get a couple cracks at the Valley this year. All right. As we move on now, let's see. Oh, we had one other exhibition game yesterday, and we talk about the cloak and dagger, the cloak and I might have jumped the gun. I don't want to jump the gun. We got to talk about Drake first. Drake took care of Dakota Wesleyan, another NAIA opponent, 77-57. And look, Dakota Wesleyan, top 10 team in the country in the NAIA. This was a relatively, it was 38-34. Drake at the half. Bulldogs fell behind early, took the lead at the end of the first half, never gave it up again. But they were tested. Third quarter stretched it out to a 14-point lead, end up winning by 20. Abby Alsma, who's been, in the Katie Dinnebeer era, a lot of a spot-up shooter on the outside, able to get to the basket. She finished with 19 points, had 5 steals. Sophomore Maggie Taylor, 8 rebounds and 2 blocks. Drake will open up their regular season on Monday. They are heading to Charleston, Illinois to take on Eastern Illinois. Speaking of EIU, last night they were in Chicago taking on UIC. And we talk about cloak and dagger. This was a cloak and dagger game, as UIC said, hey, it's game night, and then never mentioned it again on any social media platforms. No, obviously no stream, no box score. They did put the score on their schedule page that they beat EIU 68-57, but that was it. There was there was no further proof that it happened, other than this picture that Eastern Illinois posted and their little final score graphic, and you can see it is the Credit Union 1 arena, so you know that the game did happen. But that's all we got. That's all we got. But UIC victorious over Eastern Illinois, 68-57. One old friend alert from UIC, and that's Micaiah Williams, who graduated last year. Leading scorer last year, 9.5 points a game. The 6-foot forward for the Flames. She has signed her first professional contract, and she's going to Morocco to play. So, like a lot of places in this world you can go play basketball. I feel like Morocco is not the worst one on that list. That's just me. That's just me, and that's somebody that can get sunburned, flipping on the light in the bathroom. So that's good on her. So congratulations to Micaiah continuing her basketball career. Keep bouncing that ball as long as they let you do it. So heading to Morocco this season. All right, time for our preseason preview of the UIC Flames, as we are getting ready now for year 4 of the Ashleen Bracey era in Chicago. And we're going to pause on that because our guest of honor is here. We don't need to make him wait 15 minutes while I prattle on and get deep into the weeds with the UIC Flames. We would like to welcome in from the Batcave, per usual. It's a different Batcave today. Paul Oren, welcome.
Oh, hey, what's up? I was just getting here early to watch you do your magic a little bit here.
Well, we appreciate the punctuality per usual. So how is I guess first off, let's we talked about it right off the top. Valpo men last night, 104-62 winners over Brescia. It's what you would hope it would be against an NAIA opponent, but
it is what you would hope. Yes,
it's what you would hope. Overall, I guess the 30,000-foot view for you of what you saw last night, seeing the guys under the lights.
They're tall. They got a lot of size, right? This is Brandon Vickery put together this note. 7 guys that are 6'8" or taller, which is the most in the Division I era for Valpo. Back in 1943, all these guys went off to war in World War II. A lot of schools canceled basketball, and Valpo ended up not. The Big Ten did. So all these guys that were too tall for the Army ended up transferring to schools that were still playing basketball. The Big Ten wasn't playing basketball. Valpo was. And so all these 6'10" guys joined the roster in 1943 because they couldn't be in the war, right? They're too tall. You can't jump out of planes if you're 6'11" or whatever. So the world's tallest team was at Valpo in 1943, and this team might be taller. Right. And again, it's not all a bunch of 7-footers, but it is 6'9", 6'9", 6'10", 6'10". I mean, it's just a lot of length and a lot of size. And then you throw that against an NAIA team. Whew, it was 71-27 in rebounding. I mean, you can't glean anything from anything in that situation. But JT Pettigrew has entered the conversation as Valpo's latest freshman of the year candidate, I suppose. But you know what? He didn't even start their secret scrimmage. And so a different freshman did. And so, I don't know. It's an embarrassment of height. And now the 3-point shooting was not good. Some sloppiness a little bit. But once you're up by 40, you're doing stupid stuff on the court. And yeah. It was fun though. Good time.
Plenty of stuff to put on film for Coach Powell to pick all the nits this week heading into next week's opener. All right, the reason you are here with us today is doing the Lord's work in the last week or so, Paul Oren. Trying to right a wrong is probably a strong way to put it.
Yeah,
This is not supposed to be dropping the hammer on anybody, but we didn't have a preseason poll outside of 1 through 5 this year from the conference office. Didn't have a all preseason team. We got a 39-man watch list, and look, there's curiosity from people about what do we think, and ultimately it's just one more thing for us to argue about before they throw the ball up on Monday. And I will let you take it from here about how we got to where we are this morning.
Yeah, all the love and credit in the world to the crew at the Missouri Valley Conference, right? We're all in a changing nature of college basketball, right? We really are. And, one of the things that has always been so great in the past has been the in-person media day where we all get together as reporters and we get to hang out with each other. We get to talk to each other, and then we get to talk to the coaches and all that. And within that, they would reveal the top, the 1 through 12 or 1 through 11 or something like that. And then the all conference teams. And there's some fun to that to say, and then what they would do is they would bring so Murray State is going to come to media day. They would bring their 2 best guys,
right?
And Valpo would bring their 2 best guys, and you'd get a sense as to who were the guys that were going to be the storylines of the league. Well, because of many, many different factors, we don't have in-person media day anymore, and so we're not bringing those guys. Instead, we got a watch list, which Murray State had 6 guys. Valpo had 4 guys, right? Like that's 10 guys right there.
And you're never bringing that many to media day.
And you're not bringing that many to media day. So in my mind, I thought there was a couple different things I thought. It's like, okay, well, who are the players that truly we think are going to be good? And truly, I mean, from the media perspective, and also I don't cover a team that was in the top 5. I'd like to know where people think Valpo is going to finish. And so I will say this, and not to toot my own horn, I'm not trying to do that. But when Valpo joined the league in 2017, there were a ton of beat reporters. And Dave Reynolds that covered Bradley and Todd Golden that covered Indiana State were kind of the deans of the Valley beat reporters. And I knew that. And there was they both reached out to me. Hey, you're new to the league. What do you need? And, here's my number. Call me at any time. Dave Reynolds took me out to dinner in St. Louis at Media Day and said, thrilled to have you join the fraternity. Whatever you need, give me a call. Well, most of those guys have retired now. And I am now the dean of the Valley beat reporters, which, you can see the gray and the white. I mean, it's I've earned it. And so I thought to myself, that's missing. That fraternity is missing. That we don't have it because we don't see each other anymore. We don't do the Zoom calls anymore. We don't. And I thought, how can we get the beat reporters together, the ones that exist anyway? Because some schools don't have a beat reporter, but they do have professionals covering the teams. You are a great example of that. And so the other thing I thought was, what about the student journalists? I know when I was a student covering Valpo a long time ago, if a professional would have looked in my direction and said, your opinion matters, my head, Jeff, would fill both of our screens, And so I just said, let's track down the beat reporters. Let's track down a student reporter. I went through each student newspaper. I found who was writing about the team. And I said, guys, let's vote. Let's do this. Not to undermine the Valley in any way, shape, or form. I just thought this would be fun. And it was fun. And, the students responded, oh, thank you so much for including me. This means a lot. And, Mara Thomas, who's the sports editor of the Valpo student newspaper, she's also on the volleyball team, spent 3 hours putting together the poll, and that's amazing. That's great. Now, Mara, who I sat with at the game last night, has ownership in this thing. Mara's going to pay attention to this thing a little bit more because of the fact that Mara put some skin in the game by saying this is, and so that's what I was trying to do. And I think we did it. and we got a poll, and we got a first team, and we got a second team, and there's controversy already. Some crazy choices that were made. That's why we did it. And if people from the Valley are listening, I didn't reach out to the Valley and say, hey guys, I'm doing this. I just thought this would be fun for us in the media. It's the media poll. And truth be told, it's probably going to rattle around our Twitter feeds for a day or two, and then it's gone.
Blue Ribbon does a poll. Field of 68 does a poll.
Yeah, everyone does a poll.
It's no big deal.
BetMGM probably does a poll.
100%. Yes. Yeah. All right. You want to start with the rankings? You want to start with the all conference teams? It's your show today.
Let's do. Let's do the teams. Let's do the teams here.
So this is what we got, and I think at the top, it's I don't know. There was any real outliers of what we have seen from the jump. Illinois State getting the majority of the pub up top. Maybe Bradley at 3. Maybe a little bit of and by little bit I mean razor thin a little bit of where they've been, and maybe in some other polls. The rest of it seemed pretty by the numbers there. Outside of maybe Drake getting a first place vote.
Yeah, and look, this was my if I'm looking over here, it's because I have a computer over here that has a lot of the details on here. Look, this is what things that stood out to me here were probably good brand name recognition for Bradley, pushing them a little bit higher than there's some questions about that team. There's questions about all these teams, but I was one of the 2 people that voted Murray to win the league. I've talked about this on your show before. I just feel like they got guy after guy after guy on that roster, and Fred King looks like he's going to be real good, and Lane Taylor, and there's some pieces there that I just think are going to be really good. But Murray State doesn't have the brand name recognition in the Missouri Valley that a Bradley does. So again, they were pretty close to one another. Northern Iowa is always going to be at the top. They've got the best coach in the league, in terms of collective thought. But obviously, Illinois State, they bring back their 2 studs. And really, Jack Doherty is another guy who I think is going to be really, really good this year. I voted him to my preseason all league second team. And, those guys at the top. But again, I wanted to know where people thought the other teams were going to be, and where did people think Drake was going to be? Now, again, one of the, the things that happens here is when you open it up to people that are voting that maybe don't necessarily go deep on all the other teams. They're going to vote with what they know. And, Drake got a first place vote from someone who really spends a lot of time with Drake, and that's it. And, listen, Indiana.
But if they've been the gold standard in this league,
they have been
in the tournament for the last 5 years to go 4 times. So you're like, if I'm rolling dice going, I'm going to go Drake. Why not?
Yeah, you got to trust what they did. I mean, by all accounts, Eric Henderson's going to be a really, really good addition to the league, and we're curious as to what those guys they're bringing in are going to do, because the guys they brought in last year, I picked them 7th last year. I didn't know who Bennett Sturts was, and now Andy Katz is telling me he's one of the top 10 players in the country. Like, okay, and so that one stood out. Man, the state of Indiana, yeesh. In 49 other states, it's just basketball, but this is Indiana, and we're picked to finish dead friggin' last in all 3. That's rough. That's a rough go of it. I think there's a lot of question about Indiana State. They do have, they were the Drake of a couple of years ago, where they had all these studs and they all kind of went away, and you got a Camp Wagner and you've got Harding still there, and a guy looks 40 and he's still rolling. I love that guy. We'll see what they do. It's hard for me to think that Valpo's going to finish that low, but what have they proven? Valpo has not been a good regular season team. They've just been a halfway decent tournament team. And so, we'll see. And then Evansville picked dead last, but they've got the defensive player of the year coming back. And so, I thought it was interesting. Anything stand out to you on this list?
Maybe as much as anything that there was such a drop off from Drake to SIU. I think that, I think that, to me, I guess we were talking with John Baker the other day from March to the Arch, and it was just kind of, you can make an argument. I think that there's 7 that can win this thing today, and I feel like SIU's in that group, so I was maybe a little surprised they fell behind, as much as they did. I also am hard pressed, and the thing is, I think you can every team. Like, do I think Evansville's going to finish last? No. Do I think Indiana State would finish last, like the Blue Ribbon said? No. Do I think Valpo's going to finish last? No. Somebody has to finish
Yeah,
last. But I think, and again, on October 29th, is that the bottom of the league is better. And I don't know if the bottom of the league is better or if maybe the top has come down, but I don't know that that's necessarily the case, because it's not like, the top team's been a top 50 team, from the jump. That I just think that the gap, probably the best way to put it, the gap from 1 to 11 is a lot closer than I feel like it has been in recent years. And that allows this now to become, I think it's just going to be a fist fight, and that's every night. And that's going to be the fascinating part of watching this league this year.
and I think this has not been stated publicly, but I would imagine one of the reasons why the Missouri Valley Conference did not do a traditional preseason all league team and second team or anything like that is because there is so much question. Like, we wouldn't have voted Bennett Sturts last year preseason first team, right?
And that was the whole thing. That was the whole thing last year. And I remember you were on, I think we were doing some other talking podcast thing for something else. And you're like, because I specifically remember you like borderline pearl clutching about Belmont putting out, who is Jonathan Pierre, and why am I supposed to be excited about this kid that averaged 1.5 points at Memphis, and then he ended up being first team all league. And so I think it was, and again, not to speak for Mike and Jack and the gang up there in St. Louis, but I felt like that was kind of the reflexive response to, you guys all complained last year about who are we supposed to vote for because we don't know anybody, and everybody's gone. And this year, really, even without the additions, there's some really good talent coming back that I think we could have pieced together at least a first team. But so it's, I get it from their standpoint. It's a complete damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Yeah.
And so we're just threading the needle here and covering all the bases.
Well, again, we live for content. So, but one of the points that I'm going to make, and I know I made this the last time I was on the show, is that, like, Illinois State right there is the runaway. Right? Yep. Like, without question. I think we all think, I think they got a good coach in place. They got some talent in place, et cetera, et cetera. Like, they went 10-10 last year.
Yep.
And so I'm not saying they're going to go 10-10 again. I think they're going to be better than that. But, we live with the familiar. And the familiar we have are a couple of these guys at the top of their roster that, as we get into the all league teams in a second, we see that. And so that's why we picked them first. Of the 20 people that voted, they got 14 first place votes. And that is not a shock to me.
No, not at all. And with that said, probably should not be a shock when we look at the first team all conference selections that the number 1 vote getter and the number 2 vote getter both come from Illinois State, the 2 top returning all league guys from a year ago. Trey Campbell, Chase Walker was first team, Kinzinger second, Trey Campbell from Northern Iowa was third. And that top 5, I will take the top 4 did not make me blink in any way. I think that Jaquan Johnson sliding in there in the final spot on the first team. Also, I was like, yeah, I see that. But I don't know that would have, the first 4 were, I didn't have to think at all. The 5th spot maybe deserved a little thought on my part. But that was really the only eye-catching thing about this top 5 for me.
Yeah. And so, we didn't go deep into this on the voting, but so when what I did was I did you would everyone ranked their 10 best players. And so if you were the first choice, Chase Walker, you got 10 points. Second player, 9 points, 8, 7, 6, 5 down the line. This wasn't released. I got I tabulated everything yesterday. I sent it out to everybody, and I said, don't release this until this morning. And but just for the inside baseball of it all, Chase Walker got 168 points. Kinzinger was next with 121. Lundblade had 120, and Campbell had 119. Johnson had 81.
So
there's this severe drop off between Walker, Kinzinger, Lundblade, Campbell, and then Johnson. And then the next one after that got 56, 52, 33, 22, right? So Turnbull from Evansville, reigning defensive player of the year, got 56. Fred King got 52. Stafford, 33. Henderson, 22. And then Damarian Birch got 19. There were 32 different players that got votes. And again, this goes back to maybe the reason why the Valley did the watch list as opposed to anything else was because, like, there is a lot of question. Murray State had 6 guys on that watch list. Murray State had King, Taylor, Shorter, Trainer, Domon, and Murray all get votes in this. A guy's getting a vote that's not a starter, and that's the fun of this. Again, like we are going to hitch our wagons to guys and hope that we're right because we have egos and we want to be right. And there we go. Yeah, but Fred King, if I'm correct, Stafford is a different story because he's been in the league, but I think Fred King is the only newcomer.
Yeah, the only non-Valley.
On the list. And that guy looks like he's going to be a stud, right? I mean, you would know more than anybody else.
If he stays healthy, and he got a little dinged up the other night, if he stays healthy, I will be shocked if he is not, especially with a 6-man first team when we get to March. I will be shocked if he's not among those 6 for sure. So, well, good work, Paul Oren. I think.
Hey, look.
Again, doing the Lord's work. We're
excited. We're excited for the league. I mean, man, I was in a gym last night, Jeff, and the ball was bouncing. Where else would you rather be,
Than right here. Right now.
Right here in our studios. Yes.
No, that's great. I had the same, Saturday afternoon, I was in Youngstown, Ohio, calling football, and then got on the plane, came back, and then Sunday afternoon, I was at the CFSB Center doing basketball, and it's like, you hear that ball bouncing and echoing through the arena, and it's like it's good. It's a good deal. All right, we are going to try a little segment here with you while I got you here because you've got thoughts, and we all need to hear thoughts. So we're going to call this, and I had a team of PR consultants on this to come up with it. We're going to call it 11 questions for 11 teams in 11 minutes. So we'll see if we can. We're going to keep it to 11 minutes, and we're going to try to make this the most, hopefully not annoying game in the world, but you watch. All right, we're going to start. There we go. Clock's on. Belmont Bruins. Tyler Lundblade, 12.5 points a game last year, led America shooting the three at 48.1%. Can he be the guy in Nashville this year for the Bruins?
Yes. Three-pointer after three-pointer after three-pointer. This is all about the three-pointer, and Tyler Lundblade knocks it down with the best of them. Yes, I believe Tyler Lundblade can be the guy, and I believe he is going to win his fair share of Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Week awards because he'll have games where he hits 6 or 7 three-pointers.
Any concern with him being now number 1 with a bullet on the scouting report?
The three-pointer is the great equalizer, right? I mean, he's going to knock him down. I trust Casey Alexander to have guys around him to set up shots. He's going to get looks. Yes, he can be the guy. They need a point. They need a really good point guard.
They do. All right, let's go to Bradley and Peoria. The era of Dean and Hannah and Montgomery is over. The new wave of Braves is in. Jaquan Johnson, Damarian Birch, Amit Jonovich being the guys. Can this new wave contend for a championship this year and finally get over the hump in St. Louis?
I mean, Brian Wardle, I'd put him up against anybody in the league in terms of coaching, and he loves his point guards. He loves Johnson, and, a Damarian Birch, super uber athletic player, and Jonovich, he feels like a new guy, like the new Rain, but that guy's been there for a while. Guy is a brute force inside. Yes, I think Bradley. I think Bradley will be in the mix. They'll contend. I don't know that they'll do it, but they'll contend. I would be an idiot if I wanted to play Bradley at Arch Madness.
Prayers up, Wyatt Wheeler. All right. Jaquan Johnson, I don't know if he'll be first team All Valley this year. I guarantee he'll be first team All Defense. You can mark that down right now. All right. Des Moines we go. A new coach again. Same results again for the Bulldogs for the last 5 years. They've gone to the NCAA tournament. Only one regular season championship. That came last year. Ken Eric Henderson and the gang cut down the nets in St. Louis again.
It's really going to come down to how all these new guys mesh together, right? You're looking at Jalen Quinn and Jay Sean Thomas, I think is how you say his name. Those two guys, I think, are going to be really good. How does this group mesh together? Drake was successful last year because those guys had already meshed together at a previous school, and they came in and they didn't miss a beat. Now you're taking a bunch of guys, you're putting the pieces together. How do they mesh together? You got a good coach in there, and I've got a feeling that there's going to be some growing pains early, but I bet by the dog days of February, this team has got to figure it out a little bit.
Evansville. Year 4 of the David Ragland era. 1 Valley win in year 1, 6 in year 2, 8 last year. Can they get to 10 and beyond this season for a team that our media poll thinks will finish last this year?
I mean, defense travels, right? And so 100%. Connor Turnbull was the defensive player of the year. I don't know a lot about what the rest of their guys, right? Like, and this is the challenge. Is like we don't know. I know they're confident, they're excited about what they've got. That's a group that's going to welcome the last one. Bring it on, them and Valpo both. Bring it on, and can they get to 500 in the Valley? It's an incomplete answer at the moment because I just don't know what they've got, but I do know that Connor Turnbull looked really good last year, and you'd imagine a year in the weight room could ascend even higher. What pieces offensively do they have around them? And that's going to be the answer to that question. And right now, we don't know.
Illinois State, the champions of April. Will they be the champions of March? And John Baker said it's title or bust in the Normal Bloomington area this year. What do you think?
Can you imagine being a Chicago Bears and Illinois State fan? You've won the offseason.
Yeah.
You're feeling great. And then you realize that Caleb Williams is maybe not the guy. Right. And so I'm not saying that's going to happen here. I'm saying that the Chicago Bears, there was no question they've won the offseason 3 years in a row. Illinois State won the offseason. The second those guys put pen to paper and said they were coming back, that's a big deal. What that mean? I mean, yeah, I guess it is title or bust and this is a fan base, by the way, that has been starved for success.
Thirsty. Yes.
I have watched them sit in just depression in the arena at the Enterprise Center. And just just loss after loss, brutal loss and stuff like that. And they've had really good players over the years. Some of them just didn't pan out. I love the story of Chase Walker. I'm pulling for that kid, right? The guy remade his body. Yeah, I mean, with the expectations they have, it's got to be title or bust. Because I don't know that they get another crack at this, right? Like, right. Kinzinger, if he is as good as he's going to be, the University of Wisconsin is going to back up a Brinks truck to try to bring him in as a senior. And Walker, who knows? So you can't really say in college basketball we're building toward anything anymore. And so, yes, it is title or bust for Illinois State.
Terre Haute, Indiana State, certainly some question marks with Matthew Graves and thoughts with him and his family as he's coming back from triple bypass surgery. Everything went great. Don't know when he'll be back, but a lot of new look guys on there, including Sterling Young, the SWAC player of the year last season at Florida A&M, averaged 17 points a year. Is he the Valley's best kept secret right now?
1,000%. And the reason why I say that, as obviously, you do some research in, Florida A&M, which by the way has the best marching band in the country, the FAMU 100. If you go to Indiana State's roster and you click on Sterling Young, there's nothing listed. They are being so coy about him. They're not saying a word. You have to dig to find out information, and dig we do. And again, SWAC player of the year. He's gonna be a baller. He's gonna play, and it's gonna be fun to watch him. And that'll be a guy that I really think is, you look at Camp Wagner, you look at a couple of the other guys that they have. They had some talented freshmen last year that bolted. said we don't want to be a part of this, and they left. Guys that they were really invested in. And here comes Sterling Young as an older player. He's from Queens, New York, so he's got a little bit of grit and grind to him a bit. I'm looking forward to watching that play out a little bit. But I do kind of love the fact you look at other players on their roster and they've got bios and information and all that stuff, and they just got a nice headshot of him and no information whatsoever. So yes, Sterling Young is the Valley's best kept secret.
Can the Racer reboot win?
Just win, baby.
This year.
Just win. Don't make me look like an idiot, Murray State. I picked you to win. Yes. There was like a 19-day period during the summer where they signed a new player every single day. I don't even know where all these guys ended up on the roster because it just this guy signed, this guy signed, this guy signed. I think Murray is petitioning to go to have an 8-on-8 game because they've got yes they got player after. I mean, this is what the University of Kentucky did in 2015. They just sent reinforcements over the hill. Yep. Okay, the first wave of guys, let's take them out. Let's put a second wave of guys in. And Murray State's got a third wave of guys. Yeah, they're gonna ride like gazelles. Yes, that's my pick to win.
All right, the pick to click. Northern Iowa, Titan Anderson gone, Jacob Hudson gone, Trey Campbell, third team All League, is back. Are his shoulders ready to carry the burden for the Panthers?
They just I think they just grow these players on Northern Iowa's campus, right? I just think that, Campbell is another example of just a all around fill up the box score player. And I think he's going to be really good. And I feel like Ben Jacobson has a lab on campus somewhere where they just grow. It's like the Matrix, right? They're growing these players in pods, and then at one point they pop out, and here we go. They got Northern Iowa is just they are what they are. They build a great roster, and Campbell, it's just like the next guy up in a long line of. And by the way, the Dairy Bird, AJ Green, my guy with the Milwaukee Bucks, so fun to watch him turn into what he's turned into. The guy's dropping 20 the other night. It's been outstanding. And so Trey Campbell, he'll be the guy this year. He'll need some help around him. But are we ever really going to doubt Ben Jacobson and the way that he does a roster construction? It's going to be fun.
Carbondale, Southern Illinois, your guy Isaiah Stafford 2 years ago, arguably good stats, bad team guy, 17 points on a team with Valpo that struggled, sat out last year. If he's healthy, can he be a first-team All-Valley guy this year in Carbondale?
If he's healthy, there's no question. If he's healthy, there is absolutely no question. And I, obviously I haven't seen him since, I don't know, March. So I don't know how he's progressed. 2 years ago, he burst on the scene. He had 30 against Illinois. He was fantastic. Late in the year, midway through conference, he tweaked, he messed up his knee. He was in a lot of pain. He tried to grit through it. He took a lot of shots that year because he was the best guy to take those shots. Cooper Schwieger was a freshman. They were, and Stafford, I don't know that he would have had the same numbers last year with the guys around him being a little bit better. And so you put him now on a Southern Illinois team that's got some talent around it. I don't know that he's going to have to be the bailout option all the time, but he's a really good scorer. And the knee, it ended up being a partially torn ACL, I believe. And then it never really recovered last year. And they made a decision, and I give a lot of credit to Valpo here. They made a decision for the betterment of the kid, of saying, we could probably bring you back. He was sprinting in November last year. He could but the knee was maybe not strong enough at that point. They probably could have brought him in January, and he could have helped a lot. And they didn't, because he didn't want to waste a year. Now there seems to be question about this NAIA thing. Like, Stafford may very well have an additional year beyond this year. I don't know. He's got designs on a professional basketball future. So, yes, Jeff, if healthy, Isaiah Stafford is going to average, mid to high teens in double digits in scoring. And let's see the players that he's got around him to see if it's going to be 19 or if it's going to be 15. I don't know.
Chicago, Illinois, UIC, they were the darlings of the Valley in a lot of ways last year. Beat Drake, hammered Bradley in Peoria, 7-4 start in the conference, went 3-6 down the stretch, lost to Valpo on the opening round, got picked off there in St. Louis. If we give them the fast start again, can they finish strong this year with year 2 of Rob Eson?
Well, I mean, you've got year 2 of Ahmad Henderson as well. I mean, the Niagara transfer from a year ago, like I really like him. It's just I like 5'10" players, right? I like guys who the reason why I say that is my best friend growing up, 5'8". You knew that when you stepped on a court with him, because he didn't have the height, he was going to have the fight.
Yeah.
And Ahmad Henderson brings that. There were some juicy, spicy games between Valpo and UIC last year. And I came to really appreciate watching the fight that UIC had. Now, yeah, they hit a wall down the stretch, and they've brought some guys in. I like what they've done from a roster perspective. I think that they've got some some different guys here that have so they got some bigger guys. They got a guard from Binghamton, Chris Walker, 6'6", 200. Like, it's going to be a fun roster. But again, to your point, there's a lot of teams that are going to win some games. So that means some teams, an equal number of teams, got to lose some games. And I don't think we're talking about UIC in the top half of the league. So if they do finish strong, if they do play well, I think it would be a surprise, because we're talking about all these other teams. And so if they finish in the top half of the league, that would qualify as a surprise. It wouldn't be a surprise to them. Right. But and Rob Eson really, really like his energy and really like what he's brought so far.
To all of you listening, I apologize for the air horn. Outside of my radio tag team partner, Kenny Roth, whose feedback has been negative. So for him, one final time. We go to Valparaiso. Cooper Schwieger, all right. Pour out a 40 for our homies there. On to the next places. Who will be Roger Powell's third Valley Freshman of the Year in 2026?
Well, I mean, if we're basing it on last night, it's going to be JT Pettigrew. They've brought in a litany of young players, and there's probably 3 freshmen who will get playing time. Kobe Walker, by the way, he's 6'9", 270. He's from Bloomington Normal. He was going to Central Michigan. They have a coaching change. Valpo scoops up, gets him. Other schools in the Valley were looking at him. He may very well redshirt, or and with the idea of just like still developing his body and whatnot. And Kobe Walker could be the next Chase Wright Chase Walker, excuse me, in terms of like remaking the body a little bit. That said, one of the reasons why a 6'9", 275 monster might not have to play is because they got these other freshmen, namely JT Pettigrew and Carter Hopboy, who I think are going to be really good. Now, they play the same position, and they're both going to play a lot, and so they're going to play with each other, but they're both bigs. So I don't know that they're going to have to rely on a singular freshman like they did with Cooper Schwieger, and like All Right was just a gunner, so he was going to volume guy. Pettigrew last night in the exhibition, 8 of 11 for 22 points, 3 of 3 from the 3-point in 17 minutes of action.
Efficient.
Yeah. Efficient. And that comes on the heels of him dropping 24 against Fort Wayne in the secret scrimmage. And he did that coming off the bench. And he is really, really, really good. Carter Hopboy played for the U19 team for New Zealand. He's played against pros. He's really good. And then Rakim Chaney is going to get a lot of playing time as the backup point guard. So he's not obviously going to be in the freshman of the year conversation, but those are 3 freshmen that are going to play a lot. But JT Pettigrew, to me, it's sad because if he plays the way that I think he's going to play, I don't think there's a chance that, like he should go get the money. And I think he'll get it if he plays as well. I don't know that they're going to win freshman of the year, but he certainly looks like he could be in the conversation for some honors at the end of the year.
11 teams, 11 questions in 16 minutes and 51 seconds. So
we did it.
We did all right. We did all right. Paul Oren from the Victory Bell. Check him out. All your Valpo coverage there. All of our sports covering the Beacons. Thank you for the time. Thank you for all of your elbow grease here the last week or so, getting our preseason poll together. And we will talk to you most certainly very, very soon.
Very good. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for all you do.
All right, brother. Thank you. There is Commander Oren. And yeah, I don't apologize for the air horn. I don't. I really don't. I mean, most of you I do. Kenny Roth, my radio brother, griping about it. Kenny, call my secretary. We'll give you a refund for today's show. I apologize. All right. Now we can turn our attention to the University of Illinois Chicago. The artist formerly known as Illinois Chicago, now just the UIC Flames. The women, year 4 of the Ashleen Bracey era, coming off a season last year, 15-18 overall, 10-10 in the Valley, finished in 7th place. The significant part of that record is the 10-10 in that back-to-back seasons since Coach Bracey came to Chicago, 9-11 in her first year, then 10-10, 10-10. But it was the first time since 2007, 18 years since the Flames had won 10 games in back-to-back conference seasons. So she has flipped that thing from pretty much the minute she got there. Now it's just a matter of, can they finally bust through that glass ceiling, get north of 10 wins in conference play? We talked a year ago ad nauseum about the top 6 and the bottom 6 on the women's side. And really, yes, they finished 7th, but they were part of the top 7. I mean, it became a 7-5 by the time the year was over, because when push came to shove, UIC welcomed in the 2 teams that shared the regular season championship in Murray State and Missouri State, and beat them both in Chicago. They had the ability and the skill set last year, certainly, to beat anybody on any given night, and they beat the best that this league had to offer. Ultimately, it just comes down to consistency and having to do it every night and having to do it on the road. But playing in their building, they were a nightmare, and they created havoc for all sorts of teams last season. Now, it is a new era, certainly, for Coach Bracey, as they lost everybody just about off of last year's team. When you have the pair of, you had 7 kids that averaged between 6.9 and 9.5 points per game last year. All gone. Kiki Rimmer right there. She averaged 9.5. Micaiah Williams, who we talked about a little bit earlier, who was signed professionally in Morocco, she averaged 9.5. So you have 5 returners off last year's team. 3 of those redshirted. So you only bring back 6.9 points per game from a season ago. And that includes Sarah Zabrecki, who only played 7 games last season before she ended up having to miss the rest of the season with an injury. And then you had Tutu Clayton, who averaged 2.9 in 21 games in about 10 minutes a contest. So it is new look in the variety that, yes, there are some familiar faces, but in terms of contributors from last year, all those kids are gone. And that will be the challenge. And again, they may not have sort of the brand names that we saw in the Valley last year of the McDermotts and the Dinnebeers and the Youngs and those types of kids at the top of the league. But they had some really good talent. But it's a new era in a lot of the Valley this year, and UIC is certainly not immune to that. In terms of who Coach Bracey was able to go get this year, it was very portal heavy, and got them from sort of different places. Maybe one of the more, at least Division I impactful additions she adds is Jaya McClure, who played at The Ohio University. She's out of Louisville, averaged north of 10 points per game at Ohio in those 3 seasons. Coach Bracey went to some lower levels, though, and I feel like she got some gems and kids that we are going to hear about in time, and probably a lot. Jessica Carruthers was an NAIA first team All-American. She averaged 31.5 points per game last season, led the nation at the NAIA level. So she's not going to score 31 in the Missouri Valley Conference, but she's going to score. And that's going to be a huge get for her. Amelia Strong averaged almost 10 points a game last year at Niagara. And then Samantha Serrano, who played at Florida Southwestern Junior College, she averaged 19 a game there. So the one thing, sort of the one staple about Coach Bracey's teams and the way she plays, it's just they are big and strong and aggressive and in your face, and they're going to play, but they're going to be able to get up and down too, and they're going to be able to score, and that's why they're a very tough matchup, night in, night out. Certainly, forget about when you just get to March and you're in that one game situation, but they've got some kid. They brought in a wide array. So sometimes it's, hey, we're just going to go get the underachieving high major kids. It's like, well, they got some good mid majors, got some good low majors, went to NAIA, went to JUCO level, and pulled a bunch out. So that will be the part that can they get to 11? Can they get to 11 and beyond this year? That will be certainly the thing to watch. When we talk about the schedule, good on UIC. I mean, you got 6 home games, 11 non-conference games. You got 6 home games. Well done. Robert Morris, Northern Illinois, Loyola, Chicago, DePaul, Austin Peay, and then the big one, Wisconsin, coming in. That is again, as we've talked about in the past, you see in the women's game, if you are in a destination city, you can sometimes get these big brand name teams to roll into your building. Belmont's the prime example in Nashville, that they've had Kentucky and Duke and Ohio State and Tennessee and all this, either have come or will come to their building here in the last 2 years. LSU, was it last year? Maybe 2 years ago? I think it was last year. LSU went to Chicago to play UIC, LSU, and now Wisconsin coming down. So a great opportunity to play and be challenged by some of the best teams in the country and some of the brand names in the country, but also to get them to do them in your building, I think is pretty awesome. The neutral site event, they're going to the Iona Turkey tip-off Thanksgiving week. They're going to go play Maine and then either Iona or St. Francis. And then on the road, Indiana, Ball State, and again, the Ohio University. So Jay McClure will get a chance to go visit some old friends there. But the conference schedule, it's sort of a mixed bag early. They get the one early game in December. Let's see, that's December the 7th. They will be at Valpo. And then they've got Drake in Northern Iowa coming in December 29th, December 31st. And then they go one more game there at Indiana State. So you get 3 home games out of your first 4. You're going to play Valpo and Indiana State, teams that projected to be at the bottom of the conference. And look, it is hard to win at the Credit Union One Arena. And so if they're able to get Drake or UNI, it's like, man, you come out of that first 4, you're sitting at 3-1, maybe you're 4-0, and you're right in the mix of things. But certainly every reason to believe they can at least split those first 4, especially with 3 of the first 4 at home, and can get off to a good start and, be in the conversation as they roll on there. But this is the year, this we'll see. Last year it was just, they had so many seniors on last year's team to graduate them out. And now it's a new era, but we have seen a consistency, sort of a stabilization, and then a consistency with this UIC program in the last 3 years since Coach Bracey has gotten there. But to go 9-11, 10-10, 10-10, she is just itching to kick through that ceiling and get to 11 and beyond. And we'll find out soon enough if they are able to do that. Moving along, a couple other headlines before we get out of here today. Bradley, we got a late schedule ad from the Braves as they are going back to the Renaissance Coliseum. It's fancy. Hoops on the Hilltop. December the 14th, they will play Division III North Central College, a late add to the schedule. And the Renaissance Coliseum, I watched the women play there last year. It's an awesome old building, and there's not many seats in it, though. Certainly way less than Carver Arena. Tickets are available today. I believe it was started at 8 o'clock this morning, I believe, for Bradley students and some VIP members. Tomorrow, season ticket holders will have their opportunity to get these tickets. And then on Friday, they are open to the public, $20 a piece. It's not part of the season ticket package. So if you're looking through your book, you're like, where are these tickets? Well, you don't have them because this is a separate deal. but seating is limited. So do not wait if you want to be able to go watch them play in the old barn there against North Central College on December the 14th. But again, that opens up today for the VIPs and the students. Season ticket holders tomorrow. General public on Friday. Call the Bradley ticket office and they will take care of you. Saw some. Again, it's ranking season. That's what we do. That's why we had Paul on, so we could gripe about things that were of little to no importance. In the end, Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated has put out his rankings 1 through 365, just ranked every team in the country. And I thought it was an interesting exercise in the end, just again, kind of seeing where guys on the national level, and they obviously are not as dialed in on the day-to-day with the Missouri Valley as all of us are, but just kind of just feeling out where everybody thinks everybody is. Matt Norlander from CBS Sports, really maybe the one guy that he seems all in on Belmont this year, all in on Tyler Lumblade, and all in on Belmont being able to win in St. Louis and win a regular season championship as well. Kevin Sweeney, he had two teams in the top 100, and it was Northern Iowa and it was Murray State. And they were sort of kind of broke this down into 4 tiers of sorts. And really the top 2 are cousins, ultimately, where you've got Northern Iowa at 96, Murray State 97. He's a very negligible difference between the two. Okay, no problem. You go to tier 2, teams that aren't in the top 100, Illinois State, Bradley, Belmont, and Drake. Again, very little separation between those 4. Then we get a little bit of a drop down where you go then tier 3 to UIC, Southern Illinois, and Indiana State. This is probably one of the first metrics I've seen that has dropped SIU all the way down to 8. It's kind of SIU's kind of been locked into that 7, UIC the 8. Well, they have flip-flopped that. And then the last tier, 10 and 11, it's Valpo and it's Evansville. And as we have seen pretty much in most all polls, I think the Blue Ribbon had Indiana State 11th, but it's usually Valpo or Evansville in some combination. The part about this that was interesting to me was Evansville and the 223, in that they are the bottom. They are the seller for the Valley at 223. That is a good sign, I think, for the overall health of the league. If Kevin has some sort of magic crystal ball to show how everybody's going to do this year metrically, but if the floor is 223, that's good for the league. Because in recent years, we've just had those 300s, and whether Missouri State was having just an awful year, Valpo having an awful year, but it's like if the kind of that rising tide situation, we can get everybody up into pushing 200, maybe everybody can be in the top 100 before it's all said and done. That will certainly help lift the league and potentially get into a conversation there for a 2-bid league and beyond? Question mark. We'll find out. All right. Last thing before we get out of here today. Hey, gambling. NCAA. That was supposed to go into effect on Saturday, November the 1st. There has been some, I would probably best describe it as some buyer's remorse from some corners of NCAA administrators and more of university administrators and athletic directors and the such. The Division I Council, Division II, Division III, all approved that starting on November 1st, college athletes could, for the first time, bet on professional sports. No college sports, but they could bet on professional sports. Well, if you have not had your head in the ground here for the last week or so, there was that big NBA gambling scandal. Some of it had not anything to do with gambling. It was more of poker and stuff like that, as opposed to gambling on the games. But that was certainly a part of it. And I don't know if this is now a reflexive move to that, but what you're getting is the NCAA saying, okay, we're going to push this back 3 weeks, pushes it back to November 22nd. That now allows the window of time. Once these administrative councils say, hey, we've got a rule and we've passed it. Well, there's 30 days that they can go, just kidding, and pull it off the table if they get enough votes from other from the membership. And it was just interesting to see Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, pounding the pavement yesterday, 2 days ago, maybe more, pounding the pulpit, saying this is a bad deal. We don't need to be in the gambling sphere, and we don't need to be allowing our players to partake in that. And now that momentum has gone to, all right, let's pull the brakes, pump the brakes, and we'll see what's going on. Let's talk about this. And so they have 3 weeks that if they get enough votes, they can pull this back off. But If they do not, it'll be enacted on November 22nd. Again, I'm not wrapped around the axle one way or the other. I think from the NCAA standpoint, this was just one less thing they had to worry about, and so they're like, just fine, it's fine. But it does add some complications to things, and adds potential complications to things that I don't know that sort of that collateral damage and unintended consequences that really do cause some issues. So we'll see how this shakes out the next couple of weeks. But now there is suddenly all this momentum of, what are we doing? But I believe if memory serves, they need 2/3 vote to get rid of it, rescind it. And so I'm sure there will be a lot of the whips will be out in political speak there, trying to gather those votes and try to get this pulled off the table. But for now, it's on question mark. We'll see. They have until November the 21st to rescind that. And so we'll keep an eye on that. All right. That does it for this morning's edition of Morning in the Valley. Thank you for being with us again. Starting next week, and it'll be kind of a day-by-day basis depending on my schedule. We'll see how you guys like it and the feedback and all. But we're going to try to do some. We put it out last night, the Morning in the Valley overtime, where it won't be morning, it'll be evening in the Valley, where we will come on at night around 9 o'clock when the games are ending and talk about the games that have just finished. And we'll talk with the folks that have been involved in those games, hopefully some players, coaches, media, and the such. And we can all get together and chop it up about Missouri Valley Conference basketball. We will also be here a lot more frequently than Monday, Wednesday, and Friday starting next week as well, once those games start hitting. So please go to YouTube, search Morning in the Valley, subscribe for free, hit the notification bell. You'll get reminded whenever we go live, whatever time of the day it is. Very much appreciate that. And again, if you ever miss a show, all our past shows, interview clips, segments, and the like, they are all there. So find Morning in the Valley and you can subscribe. Audio only listeners, the program is now available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can subscribe there and download that. Great. However you're getting us, we appreciate you being here. Thanks to Paul Oren for being with us today, walking through our 11 questions for 11 teams, also compiling all that preseason poll stuff from the media across the Missouri Valley. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll be back Friday morning. We'll wrap up our season previews, and we will get you ready for Monday morning, because basketball starts Monday morning on the opening day of the season. Can't wait for that. Can't wait for Friday. Have a happy Wednesday, everybody. We'll talk to you soon, and thanks for watching Morning in the Valley.